This series that we're starting is going to be a little bit different than probably what people are used to with me, but it's something I'm going to document along the way, and I think it's pretty cool. So what it is about 8-9 years ago, a friend and I bought about 32 acres, and we ended up dividing it up and selling off the back. We divided up in a 12-acre section, a 10 and a 10, and we sold the back 2 10 sections off to other people that now live out there. You can kind of see one of the roofs over the trees. I'm trying to keep those cedar trees there for as long as possible, maybe forever, to provide them screening from what eventually is going to be an RV storage facility here. Kind of some of the things that we're working around, or I'm working around, is the state's going to be taking roughly 3 acres from me. Now the problem with that is that I have a good idea. I'm gonna have to get a surveyor out to tell me exactly where the line is going to be. I have the drawings of where it's going to be, but the way surveying works is a little bit funny sometimes, and you got to find the pins, and there's old pins and new pins, and whenever you're doing something that's going to cover 12 acres, being a couple of feet off up in the front can cost you a ton of money in the future. So what the plan is right now is, I have been told by the state that you cannot build any permanent structures on this portion of the property that's going to be taken by eminent domain. We're going to get paid for it, but it's going to be taken by eminent domain. However, I have no idea when they're doing that. They have no idea when they're doing that. We already proposed to them to sell them off the front portion. They said that they didn't have a budget for it yet. So now I'm kind of in a rock and a hard space with, what do I do with the front portion of the property if I can't build any structures on it? And anything I do to improve the property is just going to get wiped away. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn the front roughly 3 acres of this into uncovered RV storage. It's kind of the cheapest thing that I can do and the fastest turnaround thing I can do to start getting some income off the property while I'm building the covered section of the RV storage, starting at the part that will not be taken in eminent domain, building out backwards. So what this series is basically going to be is, from the start through hopefully the finish of building the RV facility, what that looks like, what it entails, all of that. So starting off, I'm basically trying to keep some of the screening up here in the front to hide the machines and, you know, all that stuff that I have. What I've done so far is basically start at roughly where the line is going to be that is beyond the eminent domain property, and started clearing cedar trees. It doesn't look like much, but if you look out there, you can kind of see there's a dead group right there, a dead pile right there. And then what this was when we bought it was a stock pond. There was cows out here. There's still cows out here intermittently. So this pile of brush that you see here it goes about 4 or 5 foot down, so it's a lot bigger than it looks. Right now it just kind of looks like, well, I mean, it's still a big pile, but it's a lot bigger than it looks. What I'm going to be doing, because I don't want to clean up all the ash and stuff that you end up getting when you burn trees, is, as I'm clearing everything off, it is going to be put into a dump truck, come around the corner, dump, and then I'll push the big pile together, and then I'm going to burn all of that stuff all together. After I get the back portion that I'm going to clear now, like I said, I'm going to leave a screen out there, or so that, you know, they have some privacy back there in the back, and it's not just taken away from them. You know, it's property without deed restrictions, but I also want to be respectful. And then as soon as I'm done cleaning back there, I'm going to move around to the front and kind of work around in a way that I always have a spot where I can kind of keep my machines in a location that you can't really see from the road. I'm not too worried about it, but people like that exist, and I may go over the machines that I have later. But what I'm doing today is I'm going to start kind of, there's where the power pole is. I need to clean around that so that I can start putting stuff over there that will require electricity, you know, welding and doing all that as soon as I start building the covered section, and then work it over to a spot. And then I'm probably going to move all of the machines, the dump truck, actually going on an RV trip tomorrow, so I'm not going to move that, but move the dump truck, the trailers, pintle trailer, 18-wheeler trailer, excavator, and Bobcat, move that to another spot further away from the road, because the work that I'm going to do today is going to expose where all the machines are. So come around, and then once we get everything started, warmed up and greased, I will start clearing some stuff out, and then probably attach this up there on the window. I don't know how long it's gonna last up there, but we will see how long it gets last, and if I'm gonna put this thing on the inside or put it on the outside. I don't know how long it'll stay attached on the outside. But definitely when there is the mulching attachments going, I don't think I can keep this on the outside. It says cold because it is freezing outside now, right now in Texas. So I'll let that run for a little bit. I greased everything yesterday. Actually, I didn't work yesterday. I greased everything the day before yesterday. I checked all the oil and all that stuff, and I only ran the machine for like an hour. So I'm gonna skip the greasing today. Try to grease that stuff every 5-6 hours at runtime, and then I'm gonna do that until lunch. After lunch, depending on how far I get with the clearing stuff, I have a thumb for the excavator, so I gotta knock all this stuff off, and I've never done that before, so that's gonna be a thing. But yeah, we'll get started clearing today and see how far we get. Might do a little bit of mulching, but I try to avoid that unless I have a whole day of it, because I don't like switching out attachments too much. Alright, so I'm gonna do inside because a large branch hit the camera outside, and turn on the auxiliary and sent the GoPro into a path of destruction that I don't want to repeat again. So now we have moved to where the sun isn't hitting the dirty windshield too bad, and you can see a little bit better. The windshield is also, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to clean it that doesn't scratch it every time, or scratch it period, because it is a forestry window that is plexiglass, and plexiglass scratches super easy whenever you get ready to try and clean it. So right now what I'm doing, and depending on what order I put the footage of this clearing in, is I am picking away at the larger branches on the edge of this cedar tree so that I can get to the base of it without totally torpedoing into it with the machine, which you can definitely do. I just like the machine in the condition it is, so I try to not run it straight into the brush. Glass window, for those that aren't familiar with these types of machines, or have seen Bobcats in the past, they have glass windows that you can clean with Windex and scrub, and it's not going to scratch. It's a forestry window, and the reason why I have a forestry window is because I have an attachment that clears cedars by basically sending around a disc that weighs probably 500 to 1,000 pounds with 4 AR-500 steel, essentially kind of axes that rotate through it, which y'all will see in the future, clearing some stuff. However, with this, what I'm trying to do is take everything, including the root ball, and whenever you're clearing stuff, especially larger trees, you want to leave a portion of the trunk, even the cedar trees where it's kind of soft, it's not hardwood like oak tree, and you can't really push on it as hard without it just kind of snapping off the base. You want to leave some stuff to push on so you can get leverage on it and uproot the bigger ones. I don't want to leave the roots in the ground. Reason being, over time they deteriorate, and then when you are going to be putting like base over the top of it, it can leave holes that the base is going to have to go in, and or that the base will eventually sink into, and then you have to start a perpetual process of adding base to it. So a lot of houses and areas have foundation issues where they went in and instead of removing the entire tree, they just kind of smashed it down on the ground, cleared it, got it to where the root ball wasn't visible, cleaned over the top of it, put the road base in, or foundation base in, whatever, and then formed up the foundation and poured it, and then over years that oak tree or cedar tree or whatever kind of trees you had in the area deteriorated underground and created a void that road base eventually will work its way into, leaving the concrete unsupported underneath. And you may have issues in the past or in the future, you may not have issues in the future with it, but it can definitely happen. So now that I've cleared out this side of the cedar tree, I'm like leveraging the other side as much as I can, and I watch it until I kind of start snapping it off, which once I start seeing that it's kind of going to separate from the root ball, I'll come to the other side and put the attachment underneath it and kind of dig out a little bit and pop up any roots I can pop up on this side. And then once I've popped up some of the roots, let me get this piece out of the way so I can get underneath it a little bit more. Once I've popped up some of the roots and weakened it a little bit more, I'll push on it a little bit more, and then you can't see me, but I'm craning out because I don't know if you can see it, but there is a power pedestal right over there that has an overhead line that goes to the power lines, and all of our telephone and power and cable and all that stuff out here is above ground, so we don't have water. You can see over here there's a water well, so we don't have any public water or anything like that out here. And like I mentioned before, all of this that I'm clearing out right now is eventually going to be taken by the state for widening the road that borders the property, and they're taking about 3 acres of the front from me. Just go ahead and pop that out. They're taking about 3 acres of the front of the property from me, and when I say taking, they're not taking it. They're gonna buy it, and as long as you play fair, they buy it for what like the fair market value, the current fair market value is. I got up underneath the root ball. Now I'm going to shake down as much dirt and rocks as I can off of the root ball, so I don't have to do as much leveling here in the future. And it takes a little bit of time. Now I'm just going to scrape it across the ground, try and get as much of it off before I haul off this portion. Shake it down a little bit more. So now you can see a lot more of the root balls exposed and the rocks are gone. Take it over here. Oh, it's crap. It's falling. Get a better bite of it. stuff. But I do have a couple of staging piles on the property that I will be staging this. Now this is a giant of a cedar tree. Let's see if I can straighten it out a little bit. Pretty sure I'm going to be able to grapple this thing and move it. Alright. Straighten it out. See what we can do here. Doesn't want, it's got too much leverage on me. Swing it out this way. Drop it. Let's see if I can get you all a good view of that tree. So, the tree goes from there all the way over there. I don't know if the camera's going to do that justice or not. In the future, if you'd like, I'll go over this grapple attachment that I have. They're made locally, and they are probably the best for doing this job if you're trying to take out the roots. Now, you can see, you'll see a lot of people in the area going and clearing all this stuff out with mulchers, either the disc style or the drum style, which is a lot faster than clearing it the way I'm clearing it right now. But like I said, if you go and you take it down to the ground with a drum mulcher or disc mulcher, it leaves all of these guys, the roots, underneath the ground. And while I'm definitely leaving some, you know, like the portions of the roots that break off and stuff, I'm getting the main root ball out of the ground and leaving as little as I can under the ground to rot and leave voids in the future. And it creates a little bit more work. You have to do more leveling work in the end, but this is a income property that I plan on keeping for a long time, so I don't want to create work for future Jared to have to take care of. So it's going to take a little bit more time right now, but it's work that I don't have to do in the future. And the less work I can do in the future and the more I can do other things that I want to do that isn't sitting in a Bobcat would be great. So as you can see right here, maybe, let me see, adjust this down. So as you can see right here, we have the big root ball, or big root ball, it's a smaller tree. Well, that's what we're trying to remove, and I'm trying to take as little dirt with it as possible, which is a little bit time consuming, but I also don't want to have to bring in a ton of dirt to fill in all the voids from the roots being gone. So I spend a little bit of time, since it's out in the sun now, you can see a little bit better, but it's right here. The amount of native soil I can leave, the better. Of course, I'm gonna have to go in and scrape out all of the kind of overburden or organic matter or black dirt and get down to a more stable dirt before I start adding in the final aggregate that we're gonna have to make the uncovered section. The kind of ground I'm gonna have, or the kind of base I'm gonna have on the covered section of the RV park that we're, or not RV park, RV storage facility that we're putting in here, I don't really know. I'm kind of bounced back and forth. I know that the entrance and exit, we're going to do kind of a chip seal type thing, or asphalt. Haven't really decided yet, but we are starting closer, or at the close end to the major road that comes by the property, and working further away. So the idea is that we are going to do all this without getting any kind of construction loans and build out and fill up the storage facility as we're going, and then use the money that we're making from the storage facility to fund the build out as we work further away. There's some other things that we might do with the property and not make like the whole thing a storage facility, but right now all of this has to get cleared regardless, so that's what we're gonna do. Swing around, swing around. This one did not swing around very good, so try and angle it. And then really we'll get ready to push all this stuff to where I can push it all down. And where I'm pushing all this stuff, it used to be a stock tank, and the stock tank is going to be filled in and leveled. And the scary part of this portion is that there's some ledges that are kind of covered up, and I don't want to drive off one of the ledges unintentionally. I think that this kind of gently smooths down to the bottom of the facility, or the bottom of the tank. Yeah, we're all the way down in it now. So just trying to get down in there without flipping the bottom end over the front end, which the camera is definitely not going to show how incredibly sketchy this portion is right now. Alright, that's good enough. Let's move back out without flipping. And we're good. Okay. Get back in here so you can kind of see maybe through the window of this where we have cleared out. Now, ADD brain here, this white section right here, I forgot, it's called like the Megalodon or something grapple, I can't remember. I will find out for the future, but this white section right here you can take out, and then the hydraulic rams that are on each side operate each side, not independently. Like when you go forward, it all goes forward, but if this side can continue pinching, it'll go down further. If this side gets like hung up on a big root ball, it'll stay up here and apply the pressure, while this one is allowed to continue going down. I haven't taken that center section off yet because I don't know if it's going to be any better, and the thing that I can kind of foresee happening is how much of a pain it's going to be to line these bolts back up. So if you had one of these, or have one, or worked with one of these, and you've taken this center section out, let me know how easy it is to put this. And it's like the 5 people that are going to watch this video, but if you've put this back in, let me know how it was, or if you've taken it out and put it back in, let me know how it was putting that back in. Alright, I am getting to the section of the day where I'm going to probably turn on a podcast and listen to people talk about stuff. So if you know me from the other stuff that I do and are interested in seeing this more, or if you're here because I am clearing trees and you are a fellow redneck and like watching, or you're interested in starting a business like this, whether it be clearing or starting an RV facility, storage facility, let me know. Kind of what the plan is for the future is honestly just kind of documenting for me and my kids the stuff that I did when they were growing up, so they can go back and kind of watch it. And maybe when I'm in the old folks home, I can come back and watch the things that I used to do. But if you're interested in this stuff and you want to see more of it, let me know. If you hear me clearing my throat a lot, I don't know that I'm allergic to cedar trees. I think everybody probably is allergic to cedar trees. But it gets in my throat after a while. And makes it kind of hard to talk. So, pardon all the throat clearing and redneck speak, but let's see if I can get this off here real quick. And I made a boo-boo, and I have snapped off some of this root ball. So you'll see why I kind of make sure I try and estimate if I'm going to be able to just like pinch it and bring it up. Because going in and getting a root ball by having to like dig it out, this one kind of came out a little bit easier than most. It seems like the trees up here in the front are coming out of the ground a little bit easier than the ones in the back. But usually whenever you snap off the trunk of the tree and I have to go in and dig the root out, let me see if I can pull it up. Let's just see what I'm talking about. So usually if you snap off the trunk and you don't have leverage to like push it out of the ground and then put the teeth in and kind of pop it out, it takes a big chunk of ground with it. But up here in the front of the property, it seems that the trees are coming out of the ground a lot easier than the back of the property. There's a lot more, not bigger rocks, but like fist-sized rocks up here, kind of like almost river rock looking stuff up here. It's so kind of, you'll see me in the back. I'm a lot more careful about the trunks of the trees in the back of the property, which I don't think I'm going to go to today. Because when you take the trees, it takes like a 10 or 15 foot section diameter of the root ball and ground around it with it. And then the consistency is very sticky of the soil. So you have to sit there and shake it and drag it on the ground and do all kinds of stuff so that way you're not taking like a quarter of a yard of dirt with you as you go. I'm gonna drag this root ball across the ground on the way out. Try and get some of the rocks and soil off of it. So this attachment, if you are interested in attachments, I waited way too long. I owned a irrigation and landscape company for a long time, and we just kind of always got by using buckets to kind of push stuff around and dig stuff out and do whatever. And I really wish I just would have bought one of these way earlier on, because it would have made clearing stuff a lot less messy. These smaller trees you can literally just pluck out of the ground. Now you'll see me, like this is a hardwood, like a live oak tree. It's kind of hard to see because the sun's coming in and the window has pollen all over it. But let's see if I can adjust everything around. So like this is a small live oak tree right here, and I'd like to be able to maneuver around that tree and leave it for right now, just in case plans change. Live oak trees are desirable. Like over here, there is a giant live oak tree, and it's kind of like a beginning of a little bit of a grove of one. But it's kind of hard to tell on camera. But that tree, the base of that tree's diameter is probably 18 or 20 inches, and then the base of this one that goes off, it looks a lot smaller on the screen probably, but this tree is the same size as this tree, and then there's one back behind it to the right that is the same size. So I'm going to try and come in and pick this stuff all around it. I'm going to come in and pick all that out, and then I'm going to have to come in just so I don't, you can kind of see up in the tree, there's a bunch of dead limbs that hang down, and what I need to do is get in here with a pole saw or chainsaw and cut out the portions that are dead and just leave the portions that are alive. Because this front section of RV storage, I'll probably leave the trees that are all in the front, which maybe I'll fly the drone up and kind of you can kind of tell better with a bird's eye view of the property, but there is very big and thick live oak trees on the front of the property, the front like 30 feet of the property, and I want to maintain those as long as I can, just in case I decide that maybe something else in the future is better for the property. You can't like just replant those trees. And I also, as I mentioned before, was a landscaper for a long time, and I appreciate big oak trees. So I really am conflicted about taking the big oak trees out, and I'm currently working with the state. We'll say with. I'm currently trying to talk the state into, and county, I guess it's really the guy from the county, into allowing me an additional entrance into the property, because if I can get a different entrance into the property, I'm going to be able to save some very big oak trees and not take those out. And I would really appreciate the ability to keep those oak trees intact. One of them is, I'll show it later. I guess you can kind of see it from here, but I'll see what I can show without showing too much. You can't really see it from here, but the diameter of the base of the tree is probably 4 or 5 feet in diameter, and I would really like to be able to leave that tree and work around it. It's probably not like the best thing for profit in the future, but I also don't want to, I mean, it's a giant tree, so I don't want to take that out. I will take out cedar trees without any remorse. They're invasive trees. They were not here in Texas prior, so I don't really care about those trees. And